Welcome back. Flat on the headline indices, but we are at the fag end of earnings season, so just rounding up some more conversations on the Q1 performance. Metropolis is the next company on our radar. It came out with a good set of numbers for the first quarter. Earnings were aided as expected by the low base and, of course, the second wave of COVID across the country. The company clocked its highest ever quarterly revenue, EBITDA and profit in the quarter. Margins also looked fairly healthy at over 30%. Ameera Shah, the promoter and managing director at Metropolis, is with us now. Ameera, good morning. Good to have you on the show.
Good morning.
So Q2,
pleasure to be here.
First things first. Now, tell us the business mix with the second wave wearing off. How much of the business remains COVID-related and how much of the non-COVID business has come back?
So normally what we see when the wave sort of tapers off like it has for Q2, COVID testing continues mostly for travel, as well as, of course, there are some illnesses that continue in cities and even in smaller towns. So it's not like COVID has disappeared. But obviously the levels of COVID testing are lesser in Q2, but that also means that non-COVID rebounds that much. And really, other illnesses and patients who have other challenges come more to the fore. And they're able to be taken care of, which then reflects in our testing numbers as well.
So what do you, I mean, the non-COVID recovery has actually been slower than what the street was estimating. So there's a bit of a disappointment there as well. What is the expectations over the next couple of quarters, Ameera?
I think the non-COVID, I think the street normally assumes that healthcare will move, one direction or the other very quickly. And I think what we've often seen is that healthcare is also a state of mind and a temperament and sentiment towards things. So honestly, when COVID comes in a big wave, patients get very scared of interacting with healthcare, and they obviously are at home, they're not going outside, so illnesses are lesser, etc. And it takes almost a month after the wave settles for patients to actually start feeling comfortable to actually go out and again start engaging for other diseases and other illnesses. So there is a lag between the wave getting over and people starting to see a sort of a pickup in other testing. So I think that is a pattern that we've seen over the last 1.5 years now. And I think that will continue. The other thing, of course, that's happening now in healthcare is that people have started adopting digital a little bit more. And so some of the requirements have moved online. And that also then gets reflected through sort of a different channel of revenue and a different channel of patient engagement. So these are a couple of the changes that we've sort of seen happening over the last 1.5 years.
So, Ameera, if you could put some numbers to that, I think the other interesting facet is that in terms of the revenue per patient and the revenue per test, those metrics have improved sequentially in the first quarter in the non-COVID business. Is that going to continue? And purely in terms of volume growth in the non-COVID side, what are you envisaging?
So we've seen some pretty strong, like we said, value accretiveness going up the ladder in terms of the kind of testing and that people are wanting from us. And it tends to be more and more obviously people come to us for the common routine tests, but they also come to us for very specialized tests, which indicates their level of trust in us, because doctors usually will refer specialized tests only to a player that they know that they are sure of the diagnosis. So I think that definitely reflects that. And I think it's difficult to gauge whether that's going to move up or down, only because we are still in the middle of COVID. And when every time the wave comes in, obviously non-COVID falls, the revenue per patient also marginally comes down. But I think generally we are at pretty good range at this point of time. And we obviously are keeping on hoping that it will move up from here. As far as numbers on the non-COVID piece and the COVID piece, if you see in Q1, we were at about 19% COVID during the peak of the wave. And if you look at quarters earlier where the wave has come down, we've come down to between about 10 to 15% becomes the COVID percentage to the total revenue. So my sense is that Q2, we'll probably see that kind of an indication.
I remember speaking to you in the month of June and asking you about the possibility of any kind of acquisitions, and you said that you're open to it, open to good opportunities. You're exploring various options in terms of diversification as well. So are your peers. So where is that at the moment? I mean, where are you in terms of that plan, and how are you planning to utilize the cash on the books?
So as we've always said that, look, we're open to good opportunities and there are many opportunities that keep coming our way. Difficult to comment on anything specific at this point of time. But of course, if there's anything material that sort of goes through, we'll be, of course, happy to announce it. But we are seeing sort of a bit of a consolidation happening in the industry. There are, like I said, many opportunities, but also there is a valuation gap between private and public is reducing. And therefore, we have to be picky and selective and prudent about where we invest our cash, also keeping in mind return numbers. So we are not in any hurry to go out and just acquire randomly. We want to be careful as we look at opportunities, and they should be very strategically aligned with our overall vision, not just a bulking up.
Speaking of acquisitions, Ameera, what is happening with Ganesan High Tech? This is something that you announced in January, and then there were delays. So where does the matter stand? Have you completely abandoned the idea of this acquisition?
We already came out with our statement last time. I think it was about a couple of months ago. I think that statement is in the public domain. I think we still stand by that, we don't have a conclusion on that yet. And we are currently on hold mode, waiting to see whether, what happens from here. So we are still in that state, and we'll come back to you if there's any material change.
So is there some dialogue over pricing that's led to this total stalling? What's been the issue here?
As you can understand, it's difficult for me to comment on what's happening behind the scenes. But as I mentioned, the last is we had said that we had not heard back conclusively on whether we were moving forward or not. So hopefully we'll see if there's any change. We'll come back.
Okay, I'm sure you understand that your shareholders are looking forward to any kind of news flow in terms of acquisitions, anything that could come through in terms of a joint venture, etc. But Suburban Diagnostics is still on the block. Any interest over there?
Again, can't comment on anything specific, but I think if you should overall look at the industry and the direction it's going, we are seeing definitely two things. I mean, I think you will see a convergence in the future of digital and offline, and a lot of the offline players in general, are either going to have a choice to upgrade and be able to be part of an omni-channel experience for consumers, or potentially then partner with people to go on that journey. And I think it's a crossroads for many players, especially many private players today. So it'll be interesting to see sort of how the next couple of years pan out.
Actually, in that context, digital forms just about 9% of your overall revenues. And as you said, it's gotten very competitive now with most companies coming out with these omni-channel platforms. How do you plan to scale it up over the next 1 year? How much could digital contribute, for example? And will you solely restrict yourself to diagnostics, or are you looking to sort of get into other spaces like perhaps hospitals, radiology?
I think it's very, very early days as far as digital in healthcare. It is literally just the start now, and it will actually increase over the next 3 to 5 years. What you're talking about, people coming in and becoming competitive, I think all that is still to happen in the time to come. At this point of time, the existing players who have been leaders, some of us are obviously evolving into omni-channel and will be able to engage with our consumers on all different ways, be able to offer them all kinds of services in the ways that they are comfortable with. But majority of our industry, if you see, is actually unorganized and completely, very, very small in terms of size of labs. And for them to actually be able to embrace this is going to be quite a challenge. I think the people that you're seeing coming in are more from outside the industry who are trying to get into healthcare services. Some of them have already got into healthcare product like pharmacy. Some are trying to get into services. But of course, these are two very different segments of healthcare. And, there will be challenges for existing traditional players to become omni-channel. There will be challenges for technology players to understand healthcare and be able to earn the trust and credibility from consumers. So, I think the next few years are going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. But I believe that there will be a convergence of all of this in the future.
Okay, so Ameera, then, back to the numbers then. For the year as a whole, can you leave us with an outlook, top line growth, and also first quarter, your margins were actually better than street estimates at over 31%. Is that a sustainable range?
The indication that we had sort of said last year was that our entire year EBITDA for 21-22 will be better than the entire year for 2021. We stand by that. Even though we are going on an aggressive expansion of 90 labs and 1,800 collection centers over the next 3 years, and even though we are investing a lot in our technology and digital capabilities, the same side, which will obviously erode some margin temporarily. On the other side, we are also working on a lot of cost efficiency projects, and we believe that the neutralizing factor of this will still bring us ahead in terms of margin. So we are very much working towards that. I think top line is going to be a factor of COVID and what kind of, whether we see a phase 3, a wave 3 or not, and what impact that has. But I think overall, I mean, I think it should be a reasonably positive year. I think for healthcare services from a numbers perspective, and obviously from a consumer perspective, we all hope that the infection stays under control.
Oh, absolutely. We don't even want to think about the possibility of wave 3, right? Ameera Shah, thanks a lot for joining us and speaking about your earnings. The stock has been a big win.